If you are hearing this, if this message has found you, it is because something profound and impossible is already happening. You are not just listening to words, you are experiencing a shift in the very foundation of your reality. Right now, you are standing in the doorway, in the liminal space between the world you knew and the worlds you are beginning to perceive. This isn't a metaphor. This is the quantum awakening. You are becoming conscious in the gap between timelines, a vantage point that most souls never glimpse in a lifetime. You are in the quantum field. You are not entirely here in the life you thought was solid, but you are not entirely there either. You are suspended in the infinite, a space where all possibilities, all timelines, all versions of your life exist at the same time. Your consciousness is expanding, and instead of seeing one single linear path forward, you are beginning to feel the vibration of all paths, all at once. This is not poetry. This is a literal description of what happens when a human consciousness evolves, when its frequency rises so high that the illusion of linear time, that rigid forward-marching line, can no longer contain it. You are breaking free. The feeling of disorientation, the sense that something is off, that is the first sign. You are waking up. This awakening in the space between realities is not a special gift bestowed upon a chosen few. It is not a mystical prize you have won. It is a natural evolutionary stage. It is an inevitability. When a consciousness raises its frequency, when it expands its awareness beyond the threshold of the physical senses, the old world simply cannot hold it anymore. Think of the caterpillar. It does not decide to become a butterfly. The transformation is not a choice. It is a biological imperative. The metamorphosis happens when the organism reaches a developmental stage where its current form is no longer sustainable. Your consciousness has reached that point. It has hit a frequency where it can no longer be locked into the illusion of a single sequential experience. You are starting to perceive the quantum truth that all timelines, all possibilities exist simultaneously, and that your awareness is the navigator, not a passenger trapped on one track. This is why you are here. This is why this transmission found you. It wasn't an algorithm. It wasn't a coincidence. Information does not find people by chance. This message finds you through the physics of quantum resonance. There is a perfect match between the frequency of your consciousness and the frequency of this information. You found this because you are vibrating at the precise level required to understand what is being described. If you were not already experiencing this, if you were not already waking up between timelines, these words would sound like bizarre science fiction. They would be interesting perhaps, but they would not strike a chord deep within your being. But they are triggering that chord, aren't they? You feel a vibration of recognition, a deep, cellular yes that resonates through your body. That feeling is your confirmation. You are recognizing this truth because you are living it. You are caught in the beautiful, terrifying, magnificent space between realities, and you need a framework to understand what is happening to your mind, to your life, and to your very perception of reality. Have you been feeling it? Have you been experiencing a profound sense of disorientation, a feeling that the world is no longer solid beneath your feet? Do you have moments where you remember things differently? Do you recall entire conversations crystal clear in your mind that others insist never happened? Do you remember historical events or even details of your own past in a way that the current record says is wrong? Have you found objects in places they could not possibly be, or looked for something you know was there only to find it has vanished? Have you been overcome by waves of déjà vu so intense and so detailed that it feels less like a vague familiarity and more like a memory, as if you have truly lived this exact moment, these exact words, this exact feeling before? Does reality feel like it's flickering? As if you're catching glimpses of multiple versions of your life all playing out at once? Does the timeline you always trusted, the one that felt so solid, now seem fluid, malleable, and unstable, as if you are sliding between different versions of events, different versions of yourself, different versions of your world? These are not glitches in your memory. These are not errors in your perception. You are not losing your mind. You are experiencing the breakthrough. You are witnessing the quantum reality, the true nature of the cosmos as it shatters the illusion of the classical linear world. At the true quantum level, time does not flow in one direction. At the quantum level, all moments, past, present, and future, exist simultaneously. They are all happening now. This concept, known to physicists as the block universe or eternalism, is not a spiritual theory. It is a physical one. The past, the present, and the future are all equally real, existing forever in the quantum field. What you experience as the movement of time is simply your consciousness shifting its focus, moving its attention from one now moment to the next, like a lantern illuminating one frame at a time in an infinite reel of film. When your consciousness begins to awaken, when you find yourself in that space between the timelines, you become aware of this structure. You stop seeing just the single frame and start perceiving the entire reel. You sense the multiple timelines that are all existing right now alongside the one you thought was the only one. Dr. Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics provides the mathematical proof. It states that every quantum event, every choice, every possibility creates a branching of timelines. All possible outcomes occur simultaneously. When a particle is measured, it doesn't just choose one state. In the quantum realm, all states happen, each in its own parallel timeline. Apply this to your life. Every choice you've ever made, every decision you've ever faced, every tiny moment created a branching point. A timeline where you said yes, and a timeline where you said no. A timeline where you turned left, and one where you turned right. All of these timelines are real. All of these versions of you are real. Most people experience only one timeline because their consciousness is locked into a single frequency. Their receiver is tuned to only one station. But your frequency is increasing. Your awareness is expanding. And now you are starting to perceive these other stations. You're beginning to hear the symphony of all realities at once. Think about the last few months or even the last year. Have you felt a growing, undeniable sense that something fundamental has shifted? Have you had the unshakable feeling that you are not in the same reality you were in before? That the world itself has changed in ways you can feel but cannot prove? Have you looked at people you've known for years and felt suddenly that they are different? Their personalities, their energy, even their memories of your shared past. It all seems altered. Have you looked up historical facts or cultural memories, things you know you remember clearly, only to find that the official record is now completely different? Does your own past feel like it has multiple versions depending on when you try to recall it? This is not your memory failing. This is not distortion. This is your consciousness waking up to the quantum fluidity of time. You are perceiving a truth that was always present but was hidden behind the veil of your programming. Reality is not fixed. The space between timelines, this quantum void where all possible realities exist as pure potential, this is where you are waking up. It's like being in the middle of the ocean, suddenly aware of all possible waves all at once, instead of just riding one. It is profoundly disorienting. Why? Because the human consciousness, in its previous stage, evolved to experience one timeline sequentially. It was a survival mechanism. To survive in a physical world, you needed to perceive a stable, consistent, linear cause and effect reality. But your consciousness is now upgrading beyond that evolutionary programming. You are accessing a perception that isn't necessary for basic survival, but is essential for the next stage of your evolution. The reason these words feel so resonant, the reason you feel a sense of relief, as if someone is finally explaining your experience, that isn't just relief. That is your own consciousness confirming this truth. It is validating that what you are experiencing is real. You are not going crazy. You are not unstable. You are waking up to a level of reality that exists beneath the surface of the physical world. You have been experiencing things you probably haven't told anyone about. Why? Because they sound impossible, because they can't be proven, because our materialistic worldview has no framework for them. But what if every strange, unexplainable experience you've had is evidence? What if it is all proof that you are waking up and that your consciousness is learning to navigate the quantum field where all possible versions of your life are happening now? Let's look at the phenomena, the symptoms of this awakening. First, the Mandela effect experiences, but they are becoming deeply personal and undeniable. It's not just about collective memories of movies or brand names. It's your life, your memories. You remember entire, detailed conversations that, in this timeline, never happened. You remember events from your past unfolding in a way that everyone else, and even the physical evidence, now contradicts. You have crystal clear, detailed memories of a life path that has no record of existing in this current reality. This is not false memory. This is not confabulation. You are remembering events from a parallel timeline. You are remembering a path your consciousness experienced before it shifted into this current one. When you awaken between timelines, your awareness retains the energetic imprint, the memories, from multiple versions simultaneously. Other people don't remember because their consciousness remained locked in that single timeline. But you shifted, and you carried the memories from a previous reality into this one, creating a profound disconnect between your memory and this timeline's history. Second, the reality glitches. They are becoming impossible to ignore. Objects moving. You leave your keys on the counter, you turn around, and they are on the table. Physical items appearing out of nowhere or disappearing completely. Conversations that seem to reset, or people repeating themselves, or you experiencing a moment and then experiencing it again slightly differently. Then, there are the time anomalies, hours vanishing in what feels like minutes, or a few minutes stretching out, feeling like an eternity. Spatial impossibilities, places seeming to be in the wrong location, or distances feeling altered. These are not perceptual errors. You are perceiving quantum fluctuations as they become visible to your conscious mind. In the space between timelines, reality has not yet solidified. It exists as a field of infinite probability. When you are waking up, you occasionally perceive reality in its pure quantum state before it collapses into one specific configuration. The glitches are you, the conscious observer, witnessing reality as it reorganizes itself between different timeline versions. Third, the experience of timeline jumping. You go to sleep in one version of your life and wake up in a slightly different one. The changes are subtle, but they are real. The furniture in your room is in a slightly different position. The energy in your home feels different. People's personalities are subtly altered. Your own circumstances feel off. It's not a dramatic alternate reality, but the small differences accumulate over time, creating an undeniable sense that you are sliding between parallel versions of your life, not living one consistent one. This is your consciousness literally shifting between parallel realities, often during the sleep state. Why then? Because the ego's grip on reality, its desperate need for timeline consistency, relaxes. During your waking state, the ego fights to maintain a single, consistent story. Why? Because inconsistency threatens its very sense of self, its control. During sleep, your consciousness is free from that iron grip. It can, and does, shift to timelines that are a better match for its new, higher frequency. You wake up in a slightly different timeline, and now you are becoming aware of these shifts instead of unconsciously accepting them as normal. Fourth, the precognition. You are knowing things before they happen with a startling and uncanny accuracy. This isn't just a vague intuition. It is specific, detailed knowledge of future events that then proves to be true. You know what someone is about to say, word for word. You know exactly how a complex situation will unfold. You sense outcomes before they manifest. This is not pattern recognition. This is direct knowing. You are accessing information that hasn't happened yet in linear time, but which already exists in the quantum field. This is your consciousness from its new vantage point between timelines, accessing future timelines. When you are in that quantum space, past and future are no longer distant points. They are present dimensions of the eternal now, and your awareness can perceive them simultaneously. You are not seeing the future. You are seeing a future that already exists in a parallel timeline, and your consciousness is accessing it before your linear reality catches up. Fifth, you're experiencing multiple versions of yourself all at once. You have a growing sense that there are other yous living different lives in parallel realities. They are making different choices, experiencing different outcomes. This isn't imagination. It's not creative visualization. It is a direct perception. You can feel that multiple versions of your life are occurring simultaneously. Sometimes you can even sense what these other versions are feeling or experiencing. You might even receive sudden downloads of knowledge, a new skill, or a profound understanding from a parallel version of yourself who has already mastered it. This is an accurate perception of quantum reality. The many worlds interpretation proves that all possible versions of you must exist simultaneously in parallel timelines. Each one is experiencing the outcome of a different choice. When your consciousness awakens between these timelines, the barrier between these versions becomes permeable. You are not one self trapped in one life. You are a multitude. You are multiple selves across multiple timelines, and your awakening consciousness is beginning to perceive them all. Sixth, the people in your life. Their personalities and circumstances seem to be shifting, sometimes dramatically. Someone who was always one way suddenly seems like a completely different person, not through gradual change, but through a quantum shift. They look the same, but they are not the person you remember. Their history seems different. Their relationship to you feels altered. Their core energy is different. This is not them changing. This is you shifting to a timeline where a different version of that person exists. In timeline A, your friend has a certain personality and history. In timeline B, that same person is different. When you, the conscious observer, shift from timeline A to timeline B, you experience a discontinuity. You remember the A version, but now you are interacting with the B version. Other people don't notice because they shifted with the timeline. But you notice. You notice because your consciousness is awake and you are perceiving the shifts consciously. 8 years ago, I had my own awakening. I woke up one morning and my apartment was wrong. It wasn't dramatically different, but it was wrong in dozens of small, undeniable ways. The furniture was in slightly different positions, though I knew I hadn't moved it. The books on my shelf were in a different order. The photos on my walls, they seemed to have different frames. The most unsettling part was my cat. She behaved as if she didn't quite recognize me, with a new and unsettling caution. I looked out the window and the view was wrong. The buildings were in slightly different places. There was a tree in a courtyard that I knew should not have been there. My first thought was that I was dreaming or perhaps suffering some kind of neurological event, but the differences persisted. They didn't go away. I went to my job, and while the job was the same, my co-workers were shifted. A person who had always been warm and kind was suddenly cold and distant. Someone I had always found difficult was suddenly my closest confidant. My phone had text messages from people I didn't remember conversing with. My bank account had a different balance than I remembered. Small, crucial details of my life history seemed to have changed. And the most terrifying part, when I cautiously mentioned these discrepancies, people looked at me with genuine concern, insisting that everything was as it had always been. I spent months searching for a logical explanation. Had I suffered a head trauma I couldn't remember? Was I developing psychosis? I saw doctors, therapists, neurologists. Every test came back normal. No one could explain why I had vivid, detailed, and certain memories of a reality that was different from the one I was in. All the evidence showed that this current version had always been the truth. I was experiencing a personal Mandela effect, but I had no framework. I had no one to tell me I was waking up between timelines. The breakthrough came, as it often does, through a desperate search for answers. I found my way to quantum physics. I discovered Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation, the one that explained that all possibilities occur in branching timelines. I learned about the observer effect, which proves that consciousness itself impacts which timeline becomes our experienced reality. And suddenly, everything made sense. I wasn't crazy. I had shifted timelines. Understanding what had happened didn't explain how or why. I became obsessed. I needed to discover the mechanism behind these shifts. Could they be controlled, or were we all just randomly bouncing between realities? I studied everything from quantum mechanics and consciousness research to ancient mystical traditions that described reality as an illusion. I dove into meditation practices designed to expand awareness beyond the physical, and slowly, through a combination of relentless study and direct personal experimentation, I began to understand. I began to see the mechanism. The key insight was this: consciousness does not shift timelines randomly. It shifts based on frequency. Each timeline, every single possible reality, has a specific vibrational signature. It broadcasts a unique frequency pattern. Your consciousness, which is also a vibrating field of energy, will naturally experience the timeline that matches its own frequency. When your consciousness frequency shifts, your timeline experience shifts with it. It's quantum physics. I had shifted timelines all those years ago because because something had fundamentally altered my personal frequency, pulling me into resonance with a different timeline. I tested this theory systematically. I practiced shifting my own frequency through specific meditations, visualizations, and a rigorous management of my emotional state, and I discovered I could create intentional, subtle timeline shifts. Not massive jumps at first, but minor variations in how events unfolded, which opportunities appeared, what outcomes manifested. More importantly, I learned to recognize the feeling of a shift happening. I learned to navigate them consciously instead of being a disoriented victim of them. About 2 years into this, I faced an impossible situation. I needed to relocate for a major opportunity, but I had no money, no connections, and no logical path to make it happen. Instead of forcing a solution in the physical world, I tried a radical experiment. I deliberately shifted my consciousness frequency to resonate with the timeline where the transition was already complete. For 3 days, I lived, breathed, and felt the emotions of that completed reality. I acted from the assumption that it was already done. On the 4th day, reality reorganized itself. A friend I hadn't spoken to in years called me out of the blue, saying they lived in that exact city and could help. Unexpected money appeared, housing materialized. In 1 week, the impossible was complete, not because I worked for it, but because I shifted to the timeline where it already existed. That experience confirmed it. Timeline shifts are not magic. They are quantum mechanics operating at the level of consciousness. Change your frequency and you change your timeline. It is not a metaphor. It is the literal mechanism of reality. But that massive shift also revealed something crucial. Once you fully commit to a new timeline through a sustained frequency shift, the previous timeline becomes inaccessible. You've chosen a path at the fork in the road. You can't go back. Timeline commitment has a quantum inertia. And now, I live between timelines consciously. I can perceive the in-between space. I can sense which timeline frequencies are available, and I can help others like you who are spontaneously waking up to understand that you are not going crazy. You are waking up, and this is what I am doing now in this transmission, helping you understand. The disorientation is temporary. It's the learning curve. Once you understand the mechanism, the confusion transforms into a remarkable capacity. So here is the shocking truth, the revelation that will shatter the paradigm of linear time you were taught. Time does not flow forward. The past is not gone, and the future is not unwritten. All timelines, all possible versions of your past, your present, and your future exist simultaneously right now in an eternal quantum present moment. What you experience as movement through time is actually your consciousness shifting its attention between different moments and timelines that all exist eternally. You are not traveling through time. You are shifting your awareness between infinite timeline versions that already exist in the quantum field. This isn't philosophy. This is what Einstein's relativity and quantum mechanics reveal. Einstein proved time is relative, not absolute. Quantum mechanics proves all possibilities exist simultaneously in superposition until an observer, your consciousness, collapses a specific outcome. Combined, they reveal that linear time is an illusion created by consciousness, masking a quantum reality where all moments and all timelines are real and all are happening now. Quantum physicist Dr. Julian Barber proved mathematically that time, as a flow, is an illusion. He posits that the universe exists as an infinite collection of nows. All of these nows exist simultaneously. Your consciousness creates the experience of time by moving its attention between these nows. What you call the future is simply a collection of nows that already exist, but which your consciousness has not yet illuminated. What you call the past is a collection of nows that you have illuminated, but they all exist right now in a quantum eternity. When you wake up between timelines, you are becoming conscious of this structure. You perceive that the past hasn't vanished. It's still there, an accessible now in the quantum field. You sense that the future isn't a void. It already exists, a vast collection of nows awaiting your awareness. And the present, it's not a fleeting moment. It is the eternal now that contains all moments. But here is where the revelation truly becomes revolutionary. If all timelines exist simultaneously, then you exist in all timelines simultaneously right now. There isn't just one version of you. There are infinite versions of you, experiencing infinite timeline possibilities, all at this very moment. The version of you listening to this transmission is just one probability expression of your vast, infinite consciousness. Infinite other versions of you exist, making different choices, living parallel lives. And here is what changes everything. Those parallel versions are not separate from you. They are all you, experiencing yourself simultaneously through infinite perspectives. Your consciousness is not limited to this one body in this one life. Your consciousness exists across all timelines, though normally you are only aware of one at a time. When you wake up between timelines, your awareness expands. You start to perceive these multiple versions simultaneously. Dr. David Deutsch, a pioneer in quantum physics, argues that consciousness must exist across multiple timelines for quantum mechanics to even make sense. You are not a single entity. You are a quantum superposition of infinite versions, and your observation collapses you into experiencing one specific timeline. This is why the shifts feel so real, because they are real. You are not imagining a different timeline. Your consciousness is shifting from experiencing one actually existing timeline to experiencing another actually existing timeline. What is the implication of this? It will reorganize everything you thought you knew about your life, your power, and your future. If all timelines exist simultaneously, and if your consciousness can shift between them, then your future is not a predetermined single path. Your future is an infinite set of simultaneously existing timeline possibilities. Which future you experience depends entirely on which timeline frequency your consciousness resonates with in this and every present moment. You are not walking a predetermined path. You are a powerful navigator moving through a field of infinite path possibilities. You are choosing which timeline to experience through the frequency you broadcast with your thoughts, emotions, and state of being. This explains every manifestation teaching that has ever worked. It's not about attracting things to you. It's about shifting your consciousness frequency to match the timeline where your desired outcome already exists. You are not creating a future outcome from nothing. You are shifting into the timeline where that outcome is already a fact. You are navigating to it. The outcome was always there, in that timeline. Manifestation is timeline navigation. It is not creation. But here is the shocking part that most manifestation teachings miss. This isn't just about getting things. It's not about acquiring more objects or better circumstances. It's about recognizing your true nature. You are a consciousness that exists across infinite timelines simultaneously. You are capable of navigating between them, experiencing different versions of reality simply by shifting the frequency of your awareness. You are not a limited human being trapped in circumstances trying to manifest a better life. You are a quantum consciousness navigating an infinite probability field of already existing options. When you wake up between timelines, you are becoming conscious of this quantum nature. You perceive the multiple timelines. You sense the infinite versions of yourself. You recognize that the past isn't fixed and the future isn't set. Both are fluid probability fields that you navigate through your frequency. This is what the mystics meant by enlightenment, not transcending time, but finally recognizing its true quantum nature. So how do we do this? How do we navigate this new awareness consciously, rather than being a disoriented victim of spontaneous shifts? How do we learn to stabilize this awareness and remain functional in the physical world? It begins with practice. It begins with conscious navigation. Step 1 is timeline tracking. You must begin to document the anomalies. Keep a timeline journal. When you notice a glitch, a conflicting memory, a strange coincidence, or a shift, write it down immediately. Document the specific details. This does two crucial things. First, it creates an evidence trail, allowing you to see patterns in the shifts. Second, it trains your consciousness to notice the shifts consciously rather than letting them pass by as strange feelings. Practice this every day. Notice and record 3 things that seem off or inconsistent with your previous experience. Do not dismiss them. Document them. Step 2 is frequency awareness development. You must learn to sense your own consciousness frequency. Your frequency determines your timeline. Shift the frequency, shift the timeline. It is that simple. Develop a sensitivity to what your frequency feels like. Check in with yourself multiple times a day. Ask, What frequency am I broadcasting right now? Notice how different emotions, thoughts, and states create different frequency signatures. Is your frequency contracted or expanded? Is it heavy or light? Is it rooted in fear or in peace? Each state broadcasts a different signal that attracts a matching timeline. Awareness of your current frequency is the first step to consciously managing it. Step 3 is timeline selection through frequency matching. This is where you become the deliberate navigator. Identify a timeline you wish to experience. Then, determine what frequency that timeline broadcasts. How would you feel if you were living in that timeline? What is the emotional signature of that reality? Then, you must practice generating that frequency now, before the physical evidence has arrived. This creates quantum resonance. You are tuning your receiver to that timeline signal. This is what pulls you into alignment. Choose a specific timeline version. Feel into it. Generate that feeling frequency now through conscious choice. Step 4 is the between timeline meditation. You must regularly and intentionally enter the in-between space. This is a meditation designed to position your consciousness in the quantum void, where all possibilities are accessible. This stabilizes your ability to navigate and reduces the disorientation. Sit quietly. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself floating in a vast, dark, silent field of pure potential. See infinite timelines extending in all directions like threads of golden light. Feel your consciousness as a single point of awareness that can shift its attention between these threads. Just rest in this in-between space without attaching to any specific timeline. This trains your consciousness to operate from its true quantum perspective. Step 5 is the timeline commitment lock. Once you have selected a timeline and begun to shift, you must consciously commit to it. Timeline shifts can be temporary. If your consciousness doesn't fully commit, you will unconsciously drift back to your default timeline, pulled by old frequency patterns. Commitment means maintaining the frequency alignment and taking actions consistent with the new timeline, even when the full physical evidence hasn't manifested yet. After you feel a shift beginning, make a conscious declaration. I commit to this timeline. I choose to stabilize here. And then you must maintain that frequency and those consistent actions for a minimum of 21 days. This creates a new quantum inertia, making the new timeline your stable default reality. Step 6 is parallel self-integration. This is a profound practice. Instead of seeing your parallel timeline versions as separate, you must practice recognizing them as aspects of your larger total consciousness. When you sense these other versions, do not view them as other people. Recognize them as you, experiencing yourself through a different probability. During your meditation, consciously reach out to these parallel selves. Ask, what have other versions of me learned? What knowledge or skills can they share with this version? You will be astounded. Information, skills, wisdom, and understanding from your parallel selves can be accessed and integrated, enriching your current timeline with the wisdom of all your other paths. Step 7 is grounding in physical reality. This is a critical balance. While you are developing this quantum awareness, you must maintain a strong grounding in the physical present moment. Too much focus on timeline fluidity can create a dangerous disconnect from practical daily functioning. You must hold both truths. You must be the quantum navigator and the embodied human. Maintain your grounding through awareness of your physical senses. After your timeline meditations, deliberately ground yourself. Feel your body, touch physical objects, engage your 5 senses. Recognize, I am an infinite quantum consciousness navigating timelines, and I am an embodied being in a physical form, requiring practical function. Hold both simultaneously without contradiction. When you learn to navigate timeline consciousness deliberately, the benefits are not just theoretical. They are measurable, tangible, and they will prove to you that you are working with the real mechanics of the cosmos. First, you will experience manifestation acceleration beyond all normal causation. Desired outcomes will materialize through a series of impossible synchronicities in time frames that defy logical explanation. Why? because you are no longer trying to create an outcome within a single, slow timeline. You are shifting to a timeline where the outcome already exists. What seems like a miracle from a single timeline perspective is just natural mechanics from a quantum perspective. Resources appear, the right people call, opportunities manifest through channels that should not exist, but do, because you have navigated to the timeline where they all align perfectly. Second, you will gain the ability to avoid undesired outcomes before they manifest. When you can perceive multiple timelines from the in-between space, you can sense which timeline paths lead to undesired outcomes, accidents, conflicts, loss, and which lead to your preferred outcomes. This allows you to course correct before you are locked into an unfavorable timeline. You navigate away from the failure, the loss, or the danger by shifting your frequency before that probability becomes your reality. This will look like miraculous protection or extraordinary luck. It is neither. It is conscious timeline navigation. Third, you will access skills and knowledge from your parallel selves. As your consciousness operates between timelines, the information and abilities from your other versions become accessible. If a version of you in a parallel timeline spent decades mastering a skill, a language, an instrument, a complex concept, you can sometimes access that mastery through the quantum connection. You will experience downloads of unexpected knowledge, sudden skills appearing without training, and abilities emerging from nowhere. Fourth and fifth, relationship improvement and healing acceleration. Problematic relationships can shift instantly when you navigate to a timeline where a different version of that relationship exists. A person who was difficult in one timeline is cooperative in another. A conflict that seemed inevitable simply doesn't exist in the new timeline. Likewise, physical ailments, emotional wounds, and chronic problems that seemed intractable in one timeline may be resolved or completely absent in a parallel one. You are navigating to the timeline where healing has already occurred or where the condition never even manifested. Finally, you will experience a constant synchronistic flow. As you become more skilled at navigation, synchronicities become your default, not a rare exception. You are always in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people and receiving the right information because you are deliberately aligning with the timeline streams where everything flows optimally. You are no longer randomly drifting. You are consciously navigating the quantum field. Now we come to the final, ultimate recognition. This is the truth that integrates everything. You are not a person in a body, in a timeline, who is experiencing shifts. You are the quantum consciousness that exists across all timelines simultaneously. What you call you, your name, your personality, your body, is a temporary focal point of your attention within an infinite field of all your probability selves. Waking up between timelines is the process of recognizing your true nature as the field itself rather than as the individual form within the field. This is what quantum mechanics proves. Your consciousness doesn't just exist in one place. It exists in a quantum superposition across infinite timelines all at once. What you experience as your life is simply your consciousness paying attention to one timeline probability at a time, out of the infinite possibilities that all exist. You have always existed across all timelines. What is changing is that your awareness is now recognizing its own quantum nature. Dr. Max Tegmark's mathematical universe hypothesis suggests that all possible timelines must exist with equal reality. The universe doesn't choose one possibility. All possibilities exist. Your consciousness is what experiences them by shifting its attention. This recognition dissolves every limitation. You are not trapped. You are not defined by your past. You are not moving toward one single future. Infinite other timelines exist where circumstances are different and you can navigate between them. And this recognition brings the ultimate freedom. There is no wrong timeline. There is no mistake. The timeline you are in now is not a punishment. It is one expression of infinite consciousness, exploring one probability path. You are not in the wrong life. You are exploring this life, while infinite other versions of you are exploring other lives. All are valid, all are purposeful. You are free to navigate between timelines, but you are also free to remain in this one, knowing it is a perfect and sacred expression of consciousness. This is the ultimate integration. You are not in the timelines. You are the timelines, experiencing themselves through your awareness. Welcome to quantum consciousness. Welcome to your awakening. If you're ready to expand your consciousness and step into your next quantum leap, subscribe now to Quantum Reflection. Leave a comment below declaring your own awakening and share this message with someone else who is ready to wake up.